up here anyway, so I'll be able to. Just wanted to make sure that I had enough time to get the streaming set up. So let's dig into 3 reasons why some speech programs fail. So one reason is that they're not holistic enough. One reason is that they're not holistic. Now, what do we mean when we say holistic? Who out there can answer that? We talk about programs failing because they're not holistic. What do you think that means? And of course, if no one else answers, you guys can answer as well, Jay and Farouk. All right. Okay, Bob.
Hey everyone. My understanding of exactly what it means for something to be holistic is that it basically approaches an issue from several different angles, and then in doing so, it actually has much more effect than if you only examine any individual angle on its own.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Uh, Farouk or Jade, do you have anything to add? Yes, sir, Jade.
Think one of the things that comes to my mind anytime I hear the word holistic is usually global, meaning broad. And one of the main things I've learned from you is that you need to make a lifestyle change. And so you really got to hone in on how you do everything. How do you walk? How do you talk? How do you move? I think a lot of programs who only try to make one change in one area often lead to folks uh, feeling too rigid. And the more you can learn to make a global change in multiple areas of your life, how you feel, like your social settings and so on, the more you are likely to make a long lasting change and the more likely you are to see more impactful, meaningful change as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Farouk?
Yeah. So just one point to add here, it has been spoken very well by Bhav, Jade, and yourself. So many systems out there just focus on the physical aspect of speaking. They're only focused on the physical aspect. You need to speak like this, you need to drag your speech or slow down and stuff like this. Now, we have discovered over the past few years while working ourselves on our speech and by working with clients that almost most of it is mindset. So, if you're not working on the mindset part, which has a huge role to play, you're not doing the self talk, you're not doing the affirmations, you're not doing the modeling, you're not doing visualizations and all that stuff, and you're just focused on the physical aspect. But on the other hand, you still look at yourself as someone who stutters, who has a hard time. So that is also one of the main reasons why it just doesn't work, because it's just speak like this, speak like this, speak like this, and not how you have to change your mindset around the aspect of speaking. So that is also something incredibly important that they don't focus on a lot. And that is also one of the reasons, in addition to what Jade and everybody else said.
Exactly. So there are lots of programs out there and also therapies that only focus on one aspect. Some have gone the other way and they do a lot of work with the mindset side, but not enough work on the physical side, right? Because they're both important. For some people, mindset is more important. For others, the physical side is more important. So they go together. As Jade said, it's a whole lifestyle change. So, in other words, in fact, several weeks ago, Jade and I were talking about slowing everything down. How people walk, how they do things during the day, how they drive, right? How they speak. Just everything is rushed. But sometimes you have to slow everything down. So it becomes a lifestyle change. So it becomes more difficult just to slow your speech down or to start feeling more relaxed if every other area of your life is frantic and frenetic, right? I'm not saying that you can't improve your speech or slow your speech. I'm just saying maybe something that you have to look at, and you may actually have to look at other areas of your life that you may not know are actually related to your speech, your calmness, how relaxed you are, how quickly you go through your day, how quickly you walk, how quickly you move, quickly you respond. Like, all these things may have to change, may have to actually slow down. So you want a program that's holistic, that, yes, addresses mindset, but also addresses the physical side of speaking. And so we have a whole program and system, and we're continuously developing it to help you to essentially speak smoother. These include things like breathing, which helps you relax, but also you need air to speak, right? So sometimes people forget to breathe. Their breath gets shallow because of the fight or flight stress response. So you have to be conscious of your breathing often. Then we're talking about maintaining airflow while you're speaking, modeling, the big one. It's global. You get everything from model. So we do that. And we have other exercises as well. Proactive speaking skills. What are these? These are skills that you see people that you admire, that you say, wow, they're great speakers. Trust me, they're using all these skills in one way or another. They're using body language, voice inflection, emphasis, facial expressions, right? And so they're speaking dynamically. Their speed is changing when they speak. So these are all things that we teach, not just for people who stutter, but for anyone that wants to improve their speech. So we're holistic. The second reason that some programs don't work is a promise of quick fixes. And often what they're doing is they're misusing something that I've been talking about. Hopefully, you've been seeing it in the emails, the placebo effect. Who can tell me what the placebo effect is? Get to the participant so I can see some. Who can tell me what the placebo effect is? I know one person on here knows just because he's in medical school. Uh, and then, of course, that Farouk and Jade know. So let me, all right. There it is. Okay, Bob, go ahead. What's the placebo effect in brief?
Right. Yeah. So the overall idea is when you basically are able to experience the effect of something in large part because you have enough faith or belief in that specific thing, and then it actually does start to end up working. And often, the issue is that if not used in the most effective, manner, it will end up then fading.
Exactly. Very good. Thank you. So, yeah, the placebo effect is a very real effect, right? So, you may be taking medication or doing a therapy or doing a program. And because you believe it's going to work, it actually starts to work. You you experience real transformation and change in your speech and in your mindset. But for the vast majority of people, that is what? It's temporary. It's temporary. It fades. It can fade after a week, 2 weeks, a month, but it starts to fade. But here's the thing, the effect was real because of your belief. So it demonstrates the importance and the power of your belief. Like, it started to make physiological changes in your body, neurological changes, physical changes to support your beliefs. So you actually experienced transformation. Because of your belief and the placebo effect, people can experience physical healing, right? The body gears up to start to heal whatever that sickness is, okay? Or whatever it is, it starts to heal it. So your body is extremely powerful. Your brain is extremely powerful. So the series that we're going through is going to show you how to make placebo effect more permanent, how to kind of tap into your belief that something is going to work. So we'll look a little bit at that today, but that is the placebo effect, and people kind of know this, so they know if they can get you in and kind of get you high, if you will, that you can start to see results relatively quickly. And sometimes those results can last for months, but then they start to fade. One thing about our program is we have built in to take you through those dips. So when the placebo effect starts to wear off, you have the support and the tools to get you out of that dip. And often people come out in a higher position, a better, stronger position than what they were when they went in. So what we are essentially doing is helping you make placebo effect more permanent, so using your belief throughout the entire process to make the healing, make the transformation more permanent. It's very important. Jade, Farouk, any comments on that?
Sure. So the point about quick fixes is that it feels quite good. Like as humans, we want everything pretty quick. Like whatever we want, our goals, we want everything quite quick. So an advantage, if you can change your speech in a bit, is that you could change it and you could speak smoothly in a very short period of time, which does happen with the placebo effect. The disadvantage to if you could change your speech in a very short period of time, like if I could start speaking smoothly in one day, it means that I can also lose my smooth speech in one day. So it actually means that the more time it takes, the better it is for you. Because the more time it takes, the more solid, ingrained it will be in your mind. And it will be your new speaking style, but your own speaking style after that. But if you can gain it in one day, it means that you can also lose it in one day. At the start, due to the placebo effect, we're very excited. We are like, hey, we really want to work on our speech. We believe that this is the thing that is going to get ourselves out of it. And even if that thing can't get ourselves out of it, just that belief, sometimes it starts to make a change in our speech. But if the thing is not good enough, if the program is not good enough, after a week, after a month, after a few months, people often switch back. Like Michael explained, this is also a huge reason. The more time it takes, just know that it is more advantageous for you because the stronger it will be and the long lasting it will be. It will be.
It takes time. Just understand when you're replacing, so you're not just learning a new skill, developing a new habit, you're replacing old ones. You're replacing old speaking habits, breathing habits. You're replacing old beliefs and mindsets and attitudes and thoughts. Well, guess what? That replacement process um, must take time because essentially what you're doing is you're creating a new neural network, right? You're literally building connections in your brain that represent this new mindset, this new way of speaking. And that building process takes time. It's you're literally growing different parts and different areas of your brain. And so because of Hebb's law and myelination, which that's just does change as we get older. Sometimes it slows down, but it's still active. Because of Hebb's law, neurons that fire together wire together. Myelination means it, your your brain is insulating those connections so that it becomes easier and more natural. That process takes time. So therefore, if you experience something quickly, just like Farouk said, you can lose it quickly. But just the fact that you experienced it lets you know that it's possible, that you actually can do this. What Pro 90D does is it builds in those dips and it builds in processes and support like our virtual speech masters club and our coaching and our audios and videos and our WhatsApp group. It builds in processes and support systems to help you fire those neurons together so that they stay fired and myelinate them, that is, insulate them so that it becomes more natural. It's a whole process and it's a community. So be careful when people promise you something and they say that you can do this in this many days. It doesn't mean it's not possible. It doesn't mean that you won't experience it. It's just you want to look for long-term transformation. Okay, that's exactly what we do. I've talked to clients who've come back years later, a year later, months later, and they're better than what they were when they stopped working with me, which is a good thing, right? We want clients to keep growing and get better. Some people say, well, do clients have setbacks and reversals? Of course they do. We all do. Often, and they will tell you, like, we're not saying this. They will say, well, I actually didn't speak as much, or I stopped. And you don't have to practice forever, no, right? But you have to get out and you have to speak, but you have to use that muscle. So I said, well, I just stopped speaking. I stopped challenging myself and didn't do this. And so they started to regress back. But we'll talk about that a little later. So the third reason that some programs don't work is a lack of consistent real life practice. Now, Farouk and Jade, when we say a lack of consistent real life practice, we know that we have people that do their practices on their own, right? They're by themselves. They're actually going through the program and they're doing practices. But what's the difference between private practice and real life practice? Jade, Farouk.
So one of the main things I saw like early on is that I I found it quite easy to do the formal practice. Meaning, if I had a half hour in the morning, it was easy to have the time to actually, sit there and have my routine. Where I kind of walked into most of my challenge was informal opportunities. Meaning, if I was out and about, if I was in like a social setting, I had a harder time. And I learned over the course of a few months that these were, in fact, the most important opportunities because it's when you tend to lose all of the tools. And so for me, I really took leaps and I was able to make the leap to the next level. The more informal I use opportunities to create, to share my thoughts and to speak up. Um, those were the absolute must for me, as opposed to only relying on the strict, structured formal. I had to just create these opportunities, and I really saw more meaningful and what I found to be a little more lasting change there.
Thank you. Okay. Very good. Very good. Farouk?
Yeah, sure, Michael. So I can just explain it with just a little example that I recently experienced. So when I went to Frankfurt, now there, mostly the language that is spoken is German. Like it's almost 95 to 99%. So I had to learn some language before I went there. Then I actually had to go there and speak it, obviously. I learned a lot of it while I was here, but when I went there, it was really hard to speak, although I spent a lot of time on that language right here. So, learning to change your speech is similar to learning a new language. It's not that you can keep learning by yourself, but you don't get yourself out there and you don't use it in real life. You would actually start to make the changes once you can transform and move your personal private practices into real life. We do not mean that you don't need to do your personal practices. They are incredibly, incredibly important and the first thing to do. But then you need to start getting yourself out there and using it in real life situations. In fact, you should just create some speaking situations for yourself. Make phone calls to your friends, go out there in supermarkets, speak to people, sometimes just with the goal of practicing. I'll go up to him, I'll speak to him, and I'll practice extending, or I'll work on modeling. Now, that stuff you might not need to say necessarily, but you're just going up to him or you're just calling your friend just for the sake of practice.
Couldn't hear you properly. Oh,
So
yeah, you're going to look now.
if you're more proactive in yeah, sorry. So the more proactive you are in your speech journey, the easier it will be for you to use your new speaking style when you're not proactive, like when you're reactive. When someone comes up to you, they have to speak. So it will be quite easy to do that once you have been proactively getting yourself out there and using rhythm speaking style. One small thing that I'll also add here, that even for the private personal practices, we recommend doing it in small chunks all day long. Because when you do your practices in small chunks all day long, whenever you go out there into real life speaking situations, you know that you've just recently practiced. I've just practiced modeling, I've just practiced free flow speaking. So it's very easy to just use it right there in that exact situation. So personal practices and then proactive implementation in real life, moving from no pressure to low pressure, then medium pressure, then high pressure, gradually getting yourself up.
So Son said, and it's totally fine if you stutter, right? Um, and so the answer is yes. However, I want you to rephrase that. Uh, we don't like to use words like stuttering or stammering or blocking when you're referring to yourself. Why? Because it's an identity issue. If you constantly say, I stutter, I just stuttered, I just blocked, or I block on this, then you're identifying yourself with those common words and you're identifying yourself as a person who stutters, blocks, and so forth. So we just like to normalize it by using words like stuck. It's okay to get stuck. I got stuck on this word. I got a little stuck on that word. And that kind of makes it sound a little bit more normal. Why is that important? Because your language is reflective of your thoughts and your beliefs and your identity. So you want to change your identity, you also have to change your language. So we don't like to use those words when we're talking about ourselves. It's in general, that's okay. You'll hear me use it. If you're talking about you, don't say stutter or block. Just say I got stuck. Sometimes I get stuck on this. But the answer to your question is yes. You're going to get out there and you are going to stumble. You are going to get stuck. However, here's a common question of people. If I'm getting out there and getting stuck, then I'm just reinforcing that behavior and those experiences. This is where the private practice comes in and the low pressure practice comes in. So you learn the tools and the techniques and you focus on one or two of them and you use them when there's no pressure by yourself. There's low pressure when you're around other people. And you're going to find that they're going to start to work more and more and more. Then you put yourself under pressure and you're going to find that sometimes it just breaks down under pressure. So there's something called desensitization. You have to desensitize yourself to that pressure. How do you do that? You have to put yourself in it. And that brings me to another aspect of pro-language. We've been doing it now for almost 2 years. Is it just a year or is it more than a year? I think it's almost
Yeah,
2 years.
I think one and a half years or something.
1.5 years. Our virtual speech masters club. So think about a Toastmasters, but it's virtual and it's built on a system. And we have people from all over the world that join. And we have a very, very powerful WhatsApp community. So it's a safe, supportive community, but we put you under pressure. Right? So you're under pressure when you attend those meetings. So you can practice what you're learning in real life because you're speaking to real people and you're under pressure and you feel nervous and anxious. So you learn how to use your new speaking style under pressure, which is very,
Thank you,
very
Michael.
important. You are. You are. Very, very important. Okay, let's run through some of these red flags because we want to get into the strategies to help you kind of counteract the other three things that we just got finished talking about. We're going to go through those and we're going to have Jade and Farouk kind of interject and share their personal stories. And then we'll leave some time for you to ask them specific questions. Also, if you have questions, go ahead and put those into the chat. We'll address those. But let me just run through some of the red flags. I'm going to run through these because we want to save time for the other stuff. So, overly quick guarantees. If you see programs that are making guarantees to help you cure something, get over something, stop something. Even though we say stop stuttering, obviously that's because those are the words people are using, right, to look for this. But then clearly we say that we're helping you replace it. which in some cases means stopping, but in other times it just means drastically, dramatically reducing it, changing your identity, helping you become a better speaker. So, overly quick guarantees is one red flag. Be careful of that. Single technique approaches, breathing or airflow or hypnosis, right? None of these things work because, in many ways, they do work. But if it's just one single thing, just be careful when you go to spend your money. No structured follow up support. So we have a community, and when you're coaching with us, you're connected with us via Slack and WhatsApp. So, for example, I've been talking with Jamal, one of my clients. I've been talking with Bob almost on a daily basis, right? So the support is there. Some people ask for and want more support than others. That's perfectly okay. But you have a support environment, and we have a process and structure and tools to help us to communicate between our meetings. So if they don't have this kind of support structure, then you want to be careful. Absence of real testimonials. Well, you're seeing Farouk, you're seeing Jade, you see lots of other people. In fact, I want to encourage you to come visit our Virtual Speech Masters Club. Many of them are either students or clients. They're real people. You can come see them. You can see their progress. When you join our Virtual Speech Masters Club now, you can come visit once for free. Then after that, it's just $120 for 6 months. You can attend as many meetings, and you get our course, and you get our community for just $120 per 6 months. You can come and see real people going through the process. So testimonials that you see out there on our websites and stuff, some of those people you'll be able to actually meet and talk to, like Jade and Farouk. Like Farouk's now a coach, but they're real people. And then a lack of transparency about the methods and the science that's being used. We have lots and lots of videos on exactly what we're doing. This is not a secret. You can go out and you can research and you can say, okay, I see how this can work or why this would work. I kind of understand the science. All right. So those are some of the red flags that you want to look out for. Now we're going to jump into 3 proven strategies. And the first one is to set clear speech identity and attention or intention. So you want to be clear about the kind of speaker that you want to become, right? So you want to have a vision for yourself. I want to speak like this. This is where modeling is so helpful. Right? Modeling is helpful because it gives you a clear vision of the kind of speaker that you want to become. You can see the person, you can hear them, you can mimic, you can practice speaking like them. So when you set a clear vision, it activates your prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain, and it gets that brain thinking very clearly about where it's going. It's not just use this technique, do this, try to practice this. No, it's like, I want to become this kind of speaker. What does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? How do I actually get there? Right. So what we do is we help you kind of set a clear speaking identity, set an intention. So it helps you start to say things like, I'm becoming a calm, clear, confident speaker. Right? And you can see a vision of that. All right. So that's the first thing that you want to do is what kind of a speaker do I want to become? It's not about the techniques, all of this. What kind of a speaker do I want to become? What does that look like? How do I get there? Farouk, Jade, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, probably just one thing that I would iterate upon that you said earlier, like a huge part for me, a huge part when I joined the system was that I finally found a system that wasn't focused on stopping stuttering. And that has a huge role to play. So just the shift in goal makes your speech journey completely changed. You can keep focusing on trying to stop stuttering all your life, but unfortunately, this is what you're going to get all your life because altogether, all the time, you're just focused on how to stop stuttering, how to not stutter. And most probably we all have been doing it for our whole lives and we have seen that it does not work. So let's switch on towards something new. Tone Entity is focused on making you a smoother speaker. And first time when I heard from Michael that the system is there to help you be an excellent speaker, even far above the average person, it sounded very weird and very funny at the same time, being from a place not being able to say a single word. But when you follow this journey, see what it means. And the good part is that the stuttering, stammering, and everything else just takes care of itself in the process. And a thing that I would just add here, that one mistake that I see many people making is that sometimes they try to use their skills, they try to model, they try to extend and blend, do the things inside the system with the goal that I'll extend and blend so that I don't get stuck. That is sort of right, and that is what we want. But if you're still using these skills, these speaking skills, modeling with the goal of not getting stuck, one way or the other, you're still focused on the getting stuck part, and that is what you might get more of. So do all the things inside the system with the goal of speaking more smoothly, of speaking more confidently, of being a smoother and smoother speaker. Even when you look back at your successes, instead of looking at it like it was a success because I got stuck less, no. It was a success because I spoke more smoothly. It is almost the same thing, but the change in focus makes a huge difference. So your focus is always then smooth speech, smooth speech, smooth speech, what you want, and that is what you would get more of. So this system focuses on making you a very confident, smooth speaker, and in the part stuttering takes care of itself. So this was a huge difference for me.
Thanks for key. That's very, very important. That shift in focus from becoming a smoother speaker to not stuttering or not blocking, not I didn't block as much. Well, I had a great conversation. I didn't block once. I didn't get stuck. Didn't stutter once. Well, that's good, right? But that's not going to happen all the time. There are going to be times when, but the goal is different when you're focusing on driving towards becoming smoother, calmer, clearer, more confident. Then, yeah, of course you're going to get stuck sometimes. Of course you're going to stumble, but you're still driving towards that goal, and you're going to start to accumulate more of those experiences than you do getting stuck. You really can't pay much attention to the fact that I got stuck then. Oh, I had a conversation yesterday, barely got stuck. I won the day and it was terrible. That's going to happen. But if your goal is the same, but as your vision, then you're going to recover from that very, very quickly. And you're going to continue to focus on everything that you need to do to speak smoother as opposed to avoiding getting stuck. It's a critical key difference in focus. One can hold you back, the other can propel you forward. It's just what Farouk said. Now let's look at the next one, because we'll make sure that we leave plenty of time for Jade to kind of share a little bit more. So the second one is reinforce belief through daily immersive practice. Immersive practice. So think of immersion like we talked about in the beginning. Like Jade said, it's a lifestyle change. You can immerse yourself in a few different ways. You're on a beach, there's a pier. You can wade into the water and gradually immerse yourself. It's just going to take longer, but you can do it. You can go run and dive in and immerse yourself that way. You can get on the pier and jump in and immerse yourself that way. So there's different ways. What some people do is they wade in only up to their ankles, and then they just kind of stay there and splash around in the program, or they wade up to their knees. Just, oh, well, this is great. But they haven't really immersed themselves fully. And until you do, you're not going to get the results that you're looking for, unfortunately, because this is a lifestyle change. It is. And it's a good change, though. It helps to change, strengthen every area of your life, not just your speech. So when you reinforce your belief through daily practices, immersive practices, what it does is it activates parts of our brain, or a part of our brain called basal ganglia, which is kind of where things are automated. Just automate stuff. And it helps you form habits, both physical and mental, emotional habits. So when you practice this with enthusiasm and emotion. Like, wow, it's really good. You're practicing it. You're getting out there. You're actually beginning to automate and change uh, the way that you speak and the way that you feel about speech, because you're seeing and experiencing positive changes. So you're wiring that in so that you start to speak differently and feel differently about speaking, which is very, very important. So when you're going out and you're saying, wow, this is a challenge for me, this is an opportunity for me to practice in public, do everything I can so that I speak smoothly, but there may be some bumps, right? And that's okay. When you do that, when you practice both in private and in public, what you're doing is you're reinforcing this new belief, activating your basal ganglia, which is what automates our behavior. Okay, so this is important. Any any thoughts on that? Any comments on that part? Kind of immersion, practice. No. Okay. So let's take a look at this next one. The third thing is to speak under pressure in safe and supportive environments. We talked about that. So if you're not putting yourself under pressure and you're not testing what you're learning, then as soon as you get under pressure, what's going to happen? Goes out the window, right? Everything just goes out the window. So yes, you have to practice in very, very safe environments and no pressure. So when there's no pressure, this is where you're learning mechanics, what you're doing without outside pressures or stressors. When there's a little bit of pressure, you can probably still do it, right? But it makes it a little more difficult. When there's medium to high pressure, your attention shifts, your stress response kicks in, and that's when things go out the window. So how do you fix that? You have to practice, right? You have to perform in high pressure speaking situations. No way around it. You prepare yourself with the private practice and all the things that we have you doing, modeling and all of those things. Practice, then you go put yourself under pressure. So our virtual speech masters club is one of the best ways to do that. We have different themes. Sometimes it's formal presentations, sometimes it's on the spot, sometimes it's group discussions, interviewing. You're going to be in there speaking. All right. With this, when you put yourself under pressure and you focus on your improvements, you are tapping into what's called the anterior cingulate cortex. This is your filter, and it can either filter in the positive or filter in the negative. What do I mean by this? Well, you can say, ooh, I spoke smoothly for 2 minutes. Let's just say it was a 4-minute conversation. Oh, I spoke smoothly for 2 minutes. Or you can filter in, oh, I got stuck for 2 minutes, right? Huge difference, huge difference. And we see people doing that. Oh, I got stuck for 2 minutes. Did you speak smoothly at all? And if you did, why and how can we expand that? So your anterior cingulate cortex is that part of our brain that filters in or out different things. What you want to do is put yourself in a community, in a position where you are focused on how can I speak smoother? What can I do to speak smoother? Do I see examples? Are there models? What do I need to do to keep speaking smoother and smoother? And then you filter in those smooth speaking experiences. And the ones that are not as smooth as you would like, you can quickly examine and say, okay, was I doing what I thought I was doing? Sometimes there's a gap between your intended performance and your actual performance. So when people put themselves on video, they go, I thought I was slowing down. I thought I was breathing, but I can see now that I wasn't. So you in your own mind think you're doing something when you're actually not, or not doing it enough. So it's important for you to see what you're doing, as well as to have a coach, right, in your corner who can see your blind spots. So Jade and Farouk, say a little bit about this kind of supportive environment, the virtual speech masters. Jade, I just had you do a video for me on the importance of mentorship. And so I know that that's been very, very important for you. So now might be a good time for you to share a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think it is 100% major key in having a group. I've been a member of the group now for a little over a year. I believe I joined March of 2024, and it has had a tremendous impact on me. I've seen it bleed over into almost every other aspect of my life. You know what I mean? And so I think if you have a community where you feel safe to show up every week and you have this opportunity to practice in safe space, you can learn so much quicker. I I found Michael in like 2018, I want to say, and I took pretty much a year or two trying to do everything on my own on YouTube and self-study stuff, and it helps. But I saw a tremendous improvement once I actually joined the community and I had a chance to interact and grow with a team. I think trying to improve on your own can absolutely work. I'm sure we've seen folks come and learn and make full changes in a few weeks or a few months. So we know that it can 100% be accomplished. But I saw the most improvement once I actually joined the community. And so for me, it has been a major key in helping you to just practice, learn, make mistakes, fall down, receive some healthy feedback. It is an absolute must. And so if you want to take things to the next level, if you've been trying for a few weeks on your own, or if you've been trying for a few months and you're wondering what is the next move, join a group and really have those opportunities every week to come in and to practice all of the tools you've been learning. You will grow so much faster, I promise you.
So there was yeah, Farouk, go ahead.
Just one thing. One advantage, the most advantage that Michael just mentioned, is that right there we are mimicking all of the real life speaking situations that you have right there. So let it be phone conversations, meetings, interviews, presentations. So you'll be able to implement it all of the stuff right here, and then you can gain successes right here that you can remember that will be there at the back of your mind once you get yourself out there in the real world in those exact situations. So, this can be a great place for you to build some confidence, to do all of the things that you have to do in the real life, and then speak smoothly right here because it's a safer environment. Get the successes, have them in your mind, and take the successes and implement them out there in the real world. And the best scenario, which works obviously if you're working with a coach as well, and then you're having these meetings as well, I think that brings the fastest improvement in this speech. You can figure it out on your own, but it often takes a very, very long time. And we have seen some people who at the start they say that we will work on this on our own. After 2 years, after 2.5 years, they feel like I really need someone, I really need a coach, or I really need to join the crew. Because that is where the results start to get really, really fast.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jade and Farouk. So there's a comment, and I want to address the comment, and then we're going to just open it up for questions and to also have Jade and Farouk share a little bit more about their journey. So there's a comment from a gentleman who both Farouk and I have worked with over the last few years. He said, I just tried this twice and just saw basically no results. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't matter what program you tried. There's always going to be people who join it and won't see any results, or they'll see very small results or short-term results. And there are lots of different reasons. Obviously, one could be the program just doesn't work, right? The program doesn't work. So you get short-term results or no results. So the question is, does Pro 90D work? Does it work for everyone? Good questions, right? Well, nothing's going to work for everyone. Why? Some people just need something different that this program doesn't give. That being said, we've done our research. I've been doing this for about 13 years full time. There's not much out there. In fact, Farouk can tell you, he's at one of the premier neuroscience institutes, and there are people who are world experts in stuttering. And there are things that we're doing that they're seeing that's backed by their own science. And they're like, wow, okay, this really, I'm seeing it work. This really works. So we've done our research, and many of the other programs you see out there, believe it or not, are built out of and off of Pro 90D. So we can see it. It wasn't out there before. Right? I didn't go look at any other programs before we started to build this. So a lot of things that you see out there are built out of Pro 90D. So we encourage you to go out and search and see what you can find. But this is a very comprehensive, holistic, science-based program. If this doesn't work for you, there's probably not much else that will, just being honest. Obviously, there could be something. Now, that being said, remember that there is what we call the placebo effect. There's our belief that something will work. There is whether we think we're doing something and we're actually not doing it. There's also how consistent we are. There's also, we've talked about all these things today, are we putting ourselves under pressure, right? And then when we put ourselves under pressure, are we doing or trying to do what we practiced? And when you put yourself under pressure the first X number of times and you try to do what you've been practicing, guess what? It might not work. Everyone goes through this who's learning something new or doing something or overcoming something. You've practiced it, you know how to do it, you're under pressure, it goes out the window. So now you got to learn how to desensitize yourself and put yourself under pressure and make it work under pressure. We have a whole support system in our virtual speech masters club and coaching to help you do it, but you have to be consistent. You actually have to show up, right? And then in that, you can see yourself and see if you're actually implementing. For example, breathing, slowing down, or extending and blending, maintaining airflow. Just very basic things. Some people think they're doing it, but they're not. So in this environment, you get to practice and say, well, I thought I was doing it, but I wasn't. What can I do different? We can say, okay, try this or do this. So these are just some of the reasons why a program may not have worked for you. Again, the program doesn't work. All right. Could be that there wasn't enough belief, or maybe there was, or maybe there wasn't enough consistency in immersing and exposing yourself to real life, higher pressure speaking situations and desensitizing yourself while implementing what you're learning. Often that's the critical key, right? The program works, maybe you're even doing practices, but then when you actually talk to someone, it breaks down. So that's where we kind of have to start. We got to start with that, the real life, desensitizing yourself, helping you implement what you're learning under pressure. This is not an easy process. It's not fun. Like me, still learning. I'll be learning Spanish for the rest of my life, but it breaks down unless I get out there and do it. Like literally, I can get stuck. Know what I want to say, can't say it. The more I expose myself and just do it, the smoother it gets, the more relaxed I get, the more confident. Right? So exposure is very important. And exposure using the tools and the support is even more important. Okay. All right. Any of you have anything to say about that? If not, then I want to kind of shift into talking with Jade a little bit. And if anyone has questions, specific questions for Jade, please ask him now. Jade, you've already kind of shared a little bit about your journey. There are some points that you brought up in your video about the different areas of your life that you and I have walked through, and I'd just love for you to touch on those points if you can recall them, and how the mentorship or coaching helped you there.
Yeah, I was mentioning that having a coach and having a mentor is, I mean, it has helped me so much. And one of the ways in which it has helped me a lot is you have a person who you have access to his or her life's wisdom. And you have an opportunity to now learn so much more quicker by having a person in your close corner who you can ask questions. And then, Michael has seen me walk through many chapters of my life, from interviews to losing a loved one to launching my own business and to now moving into entrepreneurship and sales and so on. And then having a person in your corner who can help walk you through each of these points in your life has been absolutely tremendous. And so for me, I've learned to become a huge advocate of mentorship, because in terms of what I've been able to earn, uh, I mean, it has vastly exceeded any amount of money the coaching has cost and so on. And so I've yielded 10, 20, 100x. And I always tell folks, if you're trying to shorten the time frame it will take you to achieve a certain thing, find experts, find mentors, find a person who can walk you through and aid you. And so for me, mentorship was a no-brainer, absolutely.
So, so here's a question I'll pose to both of you. And this is just kind of a general question that I know both of you have faced, and obviously I have too. But what do you do when you're trying, for example, you're trying to implement what you're learning in this program or any program, and it just doesn't seem to be working, or it's not working consistently? So you're trying to maintain airflow, trying to mop, you're trying to slow down, trying to self-talk, and it just doesn't seem to be working. What would you say to them?
You want me to go first?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Yeah. So some of the things which people make a mistake right here, especially those who are not working with a coach, because if you're working with a coach, he's there to make you realize this. And for me, also, when I started working on my speech, I did not have the funds to work one on one with Michael, but later I did some coaching with Michael. So my journey could have been like I could have reached where I wanted a lot sooner if I was working with Michael. So a thing which happened with me and that I've seen happening with various clients that I've worked with as well, that we try something for a very short period of time. We start to work on extending, and then after a day we feel like no, it's not working or it's not fixing the issue of getting stuck. Right here as well, people often have the getting stuck part built in, that I'm extending to not get stuck or I'm blending to not get stuck. After a day or two, they would feel like I have tried and it's not working. All right, let me shift to linking my words. Then they would try it for a day or two. Probably it's not for me. Let me shift to modeling. Even this is not working for me. Let me shift back to extending or articulating, finishing. So they don't focus on something as much as they need to do. Sometimes you just need some time until it finally starts to click. You need to be focusing on the right thing. And if you're working with a coach, he's there to make you realize what's the right thing for you to focus on right now based on your specific situation. All of us are unique, all of us are different. Even if four people struggle with stuttering, stammering, each of them have a specific case. So a coach is there to make you realize this is what you need to focus on, and this is how you need to focus on it. Sometimes, like Michael said, people think that I'm slowing down, but even when they make a video recording of themselves, they can see that they're not slowing down, or probably they're not extending, probably they're not blending. And Michael has shared it a lot that he's working with various clients and they would let him know that I'm working on extending, and he would let them know, or if I'm working with a client, I would let them know that no, this is not extending. You should probably do more of it. So the two main reasons is that sometimes people don't focus on the right thing, or the people are not doing the thing in the right way. Even if they're focusing on the right thing, they are not doing it the right way. And even if they are, they try to be very, very quick. I'm doing this, so I should get results in a day or two. If not, I'll switch my focus to something else. If you keep looking at it like this, then you might keep shifting your focus all your life. So you need to stick with stuff, focus on the right thing, do it in the right way, and focus on it as much as you need to until it starts to click. And that becomes a lot easier with mentorship, like Jade mentioned.
Jade, so have you found that you have done something and it appeared as though it wasn't working or wasn't working the way that you wanted it to? And then how did you make that shift? Like, why did you stick with it?
So this has actually happened to me quite a bit. And I found that anytime it happens, it's usually due to one of two things. It's usually due to A, what I'm measuring for is wrong, or B, my mind and my attention isn't on the right thing. So usually in the past, I had a habit of trying to be perfect. I need to move into this conversation and it needs to be smooth and flow perfectly. And so for me, my measurement and the main thing I was using to feel uh, fulfilled or to feel like I was a success was perfection, which, of course, as you know, we often almost always fall short of that. And so once I learned to kind of shift what I was looking for, and I wasn't trying to be perfect every time, I said, okay, how can I move into this thing and only aim for one thing? And as we talked about in our previous calls, I shifted my main goal to one person, 1 minute, one conversation. Meaning, if I can hone in on one thing for 1 minute, I will call it a win. And that small change had a tremendous impact in terms of what I was able to feel in the moment and after. I was no longer looking to be flawless 100% of the time. Can I do this one thing for 1 minute, one conversation, and at one small point throughout my day? And I think once I was able to shift my attention, as Farouk said, over to um, measuring for one small thing and really hyper focusing on what I want as opposed to what I'm afraid of, I was able to see a little more success, and I was able to make more lasting progress overall.
Yeah, good, 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 good. Yeah, so that's what I call the triple one formula, triple one, triple one technique, if you will. And it's just one person, one conversation, 1 minute. So every day you set a goal. Obviously, you want to practice, you want to try to apply this everyone all day. Very, that's if you want to be able to say what you want to anyone anywhere, you have to practice with everyone everywhere. Right? Very, very important. So remember that. But as a goal, you can say, all right, I'm going to proactively, intentionally create a conversational opportunity with just one person. Could be your partner, could be someone that you see every day. Just one person. We're going to have this one conversation and we'll start with just 1 minute. If I can implement what I'm trying to implement for 1 minute, it's one person, one conversation. And guess what? I could expand that minute. I can do 90 seconds, or I can have two conversations with this person, or I can speak with more than one person and do this, right? So you can expand it out. But if you can do it for one, then you can do it for another, another, and another. Right? So if you can't do it for one, then we have to go and look at, see, are you practicing the right skills, the right techniques? Are you doing them in the right way? And that's something that can be easily fixed. Okay, so what's another common question that people have? I think another common question that I hear all the time, well, there's actually two. So one is, I'm trying, but this is not working. Another one is, why is it that this goes out the window? Right? As soon as I get under pressure, it just goes out the window. And then another challenge that people have has to do with negative anticipation, which is they're constantly worrying about that the next word or the next speaking situation. So let's circle back around and talk about any of those, because I know those are major issues. Let's start with negative anticipation. Just kind of like you're sitting there, you might even be relaxed. You know what you want to say, doesn't come out, doesn't want to come out. How have you guys been able to deal with that, address that? In some ways, either reduce it or overcome it. Probably happens to all of us from time to time, but we're probably finding that it's not a big issue anymore. It's been reduced, it's been eliminated in some speaking situations. So how have you dealt with negative anticipation? We'll start with Farouk.
Yeah, sure. So anticipation is something that we have, yeah.
I think that Alice has her hand up. Did you want to answer this question, Alice? I think her. Oh.
Yes, Michael, I can, unless it's for Farouk.
We'll have Farouk answer after you. We just want to go ahead and give you a chance since, yeah. Okay, so go ahead.
So my take on that is that I just start to speak, because if I think about things too much, like now, and then I tend to not speak or participate. But if I just say, look, I'm just gonna go, and then I start to speak, and then I start to see that I'm actually fine and there's no need to panic, and then the things that I've been learning start to come slowly to me at that point, because I know that I did take that step. So taking that step, that first step, I believe, is crucial to succeeding. So I just go for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, Farouk, sorry about that. Just wanted to make sure that she had a
Yeah,
chance to
yeah,
get in
no worries. And I think she raised an excellent point right here. Like we have even shared in the past that sometimes people feel like if I have a high heart rate, if I feel like I'm going to get stuck, it means that I'm going to get stuck. Anticipation, or you anticipating that you might get stuck or you might have a hard time, does not necessarily mean that you would have a hard time or that you would get stuck. So the first step, getting yourself in this situation, regardless of the anticipation, is in itself a very good success. So that is something which is incredibly, incredibly important. Now, when you start working on your speech with the Pro 90D speech system, something which is really, really good, that now when you anticipate, you know what you have to do about it. Before you were working on your speech and you used to anticipate, then you were like, oh, I'm anticipating this word, this is a hard word, and I'm going to get stuck on it. But now, the first thing, the more you use your new speaking style, the less you give your brain a chance to anticipate words. But even in the process, if you anticipate, which you will, instead of worrying about it, you should know that I know what to do now. If I anticipate a word, I can make sure that I don't say the word by itself. I blend it with the words previous to it. or I add extra words to blend with that word, or I extend, emphasize on that word, I inflect on the word just before it. So when you know that you have a lot of options, then you're sort of not fearing anticipation. So you are letting the anticipation come. Like, even if that happens, I know what I have to do. When you stop worrying about it, it starts to go away. But when you are using your niche speaking style, and at the same time, you're also worried about, I hope I don't anticipate, because if I anticipate, I would get stuck, then you're sort of inviting the fear, inviting the anticipation of words, and that might make you get stuck more. So use your new speaking style. Just know that even if the anticipation comes, it does not mean that you would get stuck. The more you use your new speaking style, the less anticipation would be there by itself. But even if it happens, which it will, you know what to do. Pro 90D has given you a whole lot of tools that you can use and then move further with your speech. Like we say, even in the worst case, you can change the way you say it. You should not force that word out. But if you feel like, even if I extend, blend, inflect, and do those things right here, it won't work, which should not happen for like 99.99% of the times. But even if you think that, you can switch the way you say it. So it's like thinking of your speech like water. So water keeps flowing. Even if there is a hindrance, it would flow from the right side, from the left side, above, beneath. It would make a whole flow from it. So think of your speech like water. Give yourself options. The more options you have, the freer you will feel. And when you're not worried about anticipation, you're like, oh, even if that comes, I know what to do. It starts to take care of itself.
Very good. Very good. Thank you both, Allison and Farouk. So Jade, how have you dealt with or been dealing with negative anticipation?
So I agree with Farouk and Alice completely. I think you have to trust the fact that you have the tools to help you work through and move through almost anything. And I think the more you see yourself move through successfully, the less it happens and the less of a grip or the less of a control it has over you over time. Uh, what usually helps me in the moment is I try to get back to being in my body. I have found that the more I think and the more I allow myself time to be in my head, as I believe Alice already mentioned, the more I stay in the same phase. And so the more I can get into my body through breathing, through using more of my hands, the more calm and relaxed I tend to feel. So I just think it takes time and you got to continually show up and know that and trust that you have the tools. No matter what your brain is trying to tell you got to know that and trust that you absolutely have the tools and you have been working on the tools for weeks and for months and perhaps even years. And the tools you have are just enough.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Uh, Here's something else that I stumbled upon, and I'm still working on this in different aspects of my life. Learning to be present, learning to be present, and to, in a sense, get out of your own head, right? And if you've developed a habit or a pattern of worrying about something, then you'll continue to do that, right? Your basal ganglia is wired it in. It's automated worrying about this. That's why it happens. So when you go to speak, when you have to introduce yourself, when you have to give your phone number, it's automated. Oh, we usually stutter here. We usually block here. We usually get stuck on this word or these letters or this sound. It's automated. You don't have to think about it consciously. It's unconscious, right? It's wired in. So exactly what Jade and Farouk said. Uh, you got to get out there, put yourself in it, look for and look at those successes, celebrate those successes so that you begin to wire in a new way of thinking, hey, I can handle this. Even if I do get stuck, I can handle it. It's not going to be a problem. So you start to take the pressure off yourself. So it's like, there's really In fact, you're telling your brain, there's no need for me to worry about speaking because even if I have a little struggle here or there, I'm still going to be able to relatively smoothly say what I want to say. Even if I have to add a so or an and, if I have to emphasize a word, I'm still going to say it smoothly. So there's no need to worry about it. Once you start to feel that way and tell yourself that, guess what? The negative anticipation starts to drop. And in many cases, it dissipates, right? You don't worry about the same stuff that you used to. So learning, now that is a little different, but it's very much related to that kind of a mindset and that experience. It's a little different, but it's related to learning how to empty your mind. Just empty your mind, be in the moment. What do I mean by that? Let me give you an example. You're having a conversation with someone or with a few people. What do people often do when they're having conversations with other people? Jade or Farouk or anyone else. What do people often do when they're talking with other people?
They usually start to plan what they want to say next.
Exactly. Exactly. So they're in their own heads thinking about what they want to say next. And they may also be listening, but not actively listening as much as they should, as much as they could, because they're planning what they want to say next. And in this planning process, they might also be starting to feel, they might not even say it, they might start to feel, oh, I can't say that because I'm going to get stuck on that word. I get stuck, I can't say what I want to say. And they start going, so how can I say it? What's the next word? What's a different word? Right? And they're in their own head getting more and more anxious, right? Worrying more and more. But when you learn how to be present and just actively listen, soak in what that person's saying. Don't think about what you want to say next. Trust that you'll say what you want. You'll say what you need to say. Soak in what that person is saying and trust that when it's your turn, or if even if you need to jump in, you'll be able to say what you need to say. When you start to do that, this is just one circumstance, one speaking situation, you're going to find that your negative anticipation goes down dramatically because you're no longer thinking about what you want to say next. Just think about that. You're not thinking about it. So it just flows. Also, just during the day, sometimes people are just worried about their next speaking situation. Oh, I got to do this. I got to go talk to this person. They're probably going to get stuck. If they're not thinking that consciously, they're feeling it. So when you go through the day, start to practice being present. That is, take some time, could be 1 or 2 minutes. Sit down and use your senses. You can use one sense or multiple senses and observe. What am I hearing right now? What are the sounds that I'm hearing right now? And when you do it, you're going to find that your mind gets bombarded with a bunch of different thoughts, all different kinds of things, worrying about this, what I'm going to eat. I don't want that chicken over there, whatever, right? Just all kinds of stuff. And you just let it go. You don't fight with it. Let it go and then bring your attention back to what am I hearing? The more you do this, you do it with sight, sound, taste, whatever, you're training yourself to live in the present moment, to be in the present moment, and to stop worrying or thinking ahead or ruminating, worrying about something that happened in the past. So the more you can live in the present moment, guess what? The less you're going to be thinking about your speech, about getting stuck, about blocking. This was a huge turning point for me. Now, the other thing that one can do is if you are thinking about something, think about a goal. Think about something positive, constructive, energizing. So if I'm thinking about something, I'm trying to think of a solution or a goal or something that I'd like to achieve. If I'm not thinking about that, then I'm just in the present moment. So I wanted to share that it's profound once you start to live in the present moment. You'll find negative anticipation really starts to melt away when you just learn to go flow. Jade or Farouk, any comments on that?
Yeah. So just one more thing. Often, like you talked about the aspect of replacing or slowly getting in what you need to. I'm working with a client right now who's here. Haley. And she often used to say to me that whenever I try to look at speaking situations and I try to find the successes, my mind always looks for the failures. I've been trying a lot, but for some reason, I just can't focus on the successes. And I try to fight it, but it's just not happening. So right here, what I advised her to do during our calls is instead of even trying to fight that in your mind, sometimes you just need to slowly replace something with something else. So I said to her, let your mind focus on that. You say that, all right, that situation did not go well, but let me also try to find out successes right here. All right, this wasn't good, but let me also try to find out what was good. So then she started to look more at that as well. So oftentimes in your mind, you don't need to fight really strong. If your mind is trying something, you're trying to push really, really hard. And I think there's a saying, Michael, that in all mental workings, effort actually defeats itself. So it's like fighting. Like even I don't want to stutter. It's like you're fighting your mind. And the more you try to fight it, the more that one thing happens. But if you slowly replace that with something else or you add it onto it, it becomes and gets a lot easier. So I just wanted to add that, and it was really helpful for her. So try slowly replacing things as you start working on your speech.
Very good. Thank you, man. Thank you. So as we start to wrap up here, if anyone has any questions specifically for Jade or for Farouk or for myself, now is the time to ask. I want to share with you our website. We've been kind of working on that and we're still revising it. Um, I have a new coaching structure now that we've never launched before. And Farouk will be maintaining the previous one for now, then later we'll shift. But 12 months and 6 months. And if you go back and you look at my previous pricing, you'll find that this is actually cheaper, right? Especially the 6 month, it's actually cheaper because you're getting 12 sessions for whatever the price is on that website. Not only that, you're getting access, complimentary access to our virtual speech masters club. So that's where you take what you're learning, put it into practice under pressure in a safe environment and community, a safe and supportive environment. To not only get to attend the club and you put into practice what you're learning on a weekly basis, you get the WhatsApp community, which is very lively. We've had different communities in the past, and sometimes they've been good, sometimes not. This one is lively. There's people asking questions, answering questions. Bob was asking some questions, posing some thoughts last night. Alice was responding. I jumped in there. Farouk jumped in. Jade, he put stuff in. There's all kinds of people supporting each other. If you're having challenges and thoughts, things that you're struggling with, you put that in there. And it's not just, in fact, I rarely answer. I let the community answer, but I'm watching and I'm listening and I'm pulling out your challenges and we're putting them together. And that's what helps us make content. Farouk has done a whole series of videos that's addressing challenges and questions and comments that you have asked in our community. So if you're watching this, one of the best things that you could do and the least expensive is to join our virtual speech masters club, $120 per 6 months. You get the WhatsApp community and you get to come practice with us and get feedback. For those of you who want to accelerate the process, like Jade just said, you want to look at the coaching like an investment. Again, you're going to get to work with me for 6 months. You might say, well, I want it faster. Well, guess what? 6 months goes by really fast, and you're going to want that time. Jade will tell you, you're going to want to spend that time with us because you're going to go through different phases and cycles. And when you have that support, that's what's going to help you get through it faster. We're also going to point out, as people say, well, there's lots of techniques, there's lots of stuff I have to do. I don't know what to focus on. That's what the coaching does. 80-20 rule. Focus on these one or two things. It's going to get you your biggest results the fastest. And we move on to something else later. So you get working with us, private access to us, you get our community WhatsApp, you get the Virtual Speech Masters Club, and you get the course. And you get the course for just 120. Or if you working with us privately, then you see the cost and you look at the website and you get to meet with us 12 times over the 6 months, plus all of that other stuff. I just had a lady, and I can't really mention it now because she's got to wait until it's officially announced. She works for a multinational company. She was referred to me by her niece, who went through the program, is doing really well now. So she referred her aunt, and her aunt's at a pretty high level in the company. And we worked with her on her interviews, and she got the job. So she's a VP now, right? And so, do you think that she thought that she made a good investment when she invested in coaching with me? Like Jade said, 10 times, 20 times 100 times, whatever you put in, you literally can get that money back in your first job, your first promotion, your first sale or two sales. But it's the gift that keeps on giving, because it doesn't just stop there. Your communication skills and your confidence continues to build, and you continue to earn more money every month or get more sales every month, year after year, and you get better and better. So you usually get your investment back in that first month, that first paycheck, first job, first sale. Then you keep getting that money back every month after that for the rest of your life. So don't look at this like that costs too much. Well, if you think it costs too much, then it probably does. You're going to look at it like this is an investment that I'm going to get probably a financial return, but also emotional and social returns. Better family. I have a guy that I work with, and then I'll wrap up. And he said he hadn't been able to have a good conversation with his father for almost his whole life. With the program, now he's having deeper conversations with his father. We're not even talking about the financial return. That's a spiritual, emotional, psychological return on his investment. So, uh, Jade, any last comments that you want to share about people who are thinking of, one, working with us privately, two, joining Virtual Speech Masters? What would you say to them?
I would say to anyone who's out there on the fence, you need to really, really consider one or both of those options. That they have been pivotal in helping me, and you need a team. The way to achieve any goal much quicker is to use the genius and knowledge of folks who've already gone through what you might be walking through at the current moment. So if you want to cut the time in half or more, I highly recommend you either join us in the community and join our calls, or you take part in the coaching. It has been a transformative tool for me, and I think it will help a lot of folks as well. This journey is incredibly hard. In fact, I would say it's been the hardest thing I've ever tried to pursue in my life. And I can't imagine how much harder it would have been if I was still trying to move through it and learn and grow on my own. So I would highly just say find a way to find the money if you can to you know take part in one of those options, because it will 100% change your life. 100%.
Jade. Okay, Farouk.
Yeah, so Michael, I'll just add one thing right here that, like I mentioned at the start, that now I'm in Frankfurt, like doing stuff right there, doing my masters and stuff. So right there, I did a talk on speech, and now I'm also being invited right there to more institutes for speech talks and stuff. Sometimes it feels really good. And I think the last week or 2 weeks back, I just sent a message to Michael, and I just wanted to really, thank him for making me capable enough to do this. While struggling on my speech, I could never imagine that I would be teaching people how to speak well, even those who don't have a hard time speaking, who have not stuttered or stammered in the past. So, just like we were mentioning at the start, that this system will get you even over those people, that even those people would start to ask you that I have a hard time presenting, or I have a hard time with interviews. What should I do? What shall I do? So the system is built out for that. So if you have been having this thing in your mind, now is the best time to invest. Now is the best time to get yourself in there. Since you can just keep having to think in your mind, shall I work? Shall I not? Shall I get in the system? Shall I work with Michael or not? Shall I get with the virtual speech masters? Make the investment, get in there right now, see all of the people that have worked with the system, and they are where they are right now. Jade, I think, just here 2 weeks back, one of his speeches that he did, and it was incredible. Like, he was speaking on the stage, and I could see him, and I was like, I don't think that I or someone else would have done a better job than that. So it really gets you to a point where it goes much above the average person. So if you're ready to become that, and it's not only me and it's not only Jade, go out there on the website, look at the testimonials and stuff, and you'll know exactly what we're talking about.
The other thing that I want to say as we wrap up is that we give you ample content and opportunities to try this for yourself, even if you don't believe us, right? Because if you believed 100%, those of you that are 100% that this was going to work, and you're struggling and you know it's holding you back professionally, socially, personally, financially, right? If you knew 100% this process would work, you'd be willing to invest your time and your money, 100%. So what we do, and this has been my strategy from when I first started, like some 15 years ago or so. So I've been coaching for 13, but I've been doing this for well before that, is to give you enough content, strategies, and stuff that you could try it for yourself. Right? But remember, like Farouk said, if you just try it for a week, we try it for a couple of days, and it works and it doesn't work, and you move on to something. It's about consistency, which is not just us saying it, it's the way your brain works, right? You gotta do it. And so we've given you a community at a very, very low cost. And we've given you the tools, we're giving you the tools where you can try it for yourself and see if it works. And then give you feedback. Because remember, sometimes we think that we're doing something and we're not. So you might be trying something that actually works, but not doing enough of it, or not doing it long enough, or not doing it the correct way. So then you think it doesn't work. That's where the community comes in. Okay. So again, even if you don't believe us or any of the videos that you see, you can come in and try it for yourself. And that's what we're inviting you to do. All right. We got, does Jada Farouk have any tips on modeling in conversations? I find that I can model well in longer sentences, but in conversations seem to struggle to speak like my model. Okay, thank you for the fantastic webinar. Success. Thank you, Alice, for joining us and for your comments. Beata says, thank you, Jade. Michael Jade Farouk, it's great. Thank you, Beata, for being here. We're going to go ahead and answer this question, and then we'll jump off. So if you guys could address that, does Jada Farouk have any tips on modeling in conversation? So, of course, it's easy to model if you're doing a video or presentation. What about in conversations?
So, yeah. So what I would say on this, like, simple answer, short answer, like, we can do a whole webinar on this once again. And the short answer would be, like, try to find your triggers, as to say, for modeling. So sometimes what you need is that you need to look at your model and you need to see what are one or two of the things that I do that get me into my modeling style. Sometimes you just require those one or two things right there. For me, It was using my hands in a certain way, like Michael uses his hands, since I modeled Michael, of course. And then I used to visualize Michael in my head. So I used to be visualizing him. And while speaking, it was me speaking, but in my head, it was Michael speaking. For some people, they just slow down their speech and they start to feel like they model. For some people, it's a mixture, it's a combination. Some people, it's breathing. So try to find what is the easiest thing for you to focus on. And the moment you focus on it, it gets you into your modeling style of speaking. And often, when you start to do that and you start to activate your modeling style in real life situations, conversations, presentations, the more you practice it by yourself, first practicing it by yourself is very important. You do the formal modeling practice, informal modeling practice. You make sure that the formal modeling practice is matching with Michael's style, and your informal modeling practice is matching with your formal and Michael's style. And then getting out there and finding those triggers, focusing on those triggers to activate your modeling style. Make modeling simple. Try to focus on something that activates it so that the modeling style gets activated on its own when you focus on the triggers. So, a short answer, but we can do a whole session webinar on this probably.
Very good. I'll just give a quick example of what I did. So I never really had to think much about my model while I was actually speaking because I had studied them, watched them, listened to them, practiced privately speaking like them, that my brain knew how they spoke. My brain knew what they did. So all I had to do was do what my model does. Use my hands, make my posture a certain way, have my voice, have my rhythm and cadence go a certain way, raise the pitch of my voice the same as my mom. All I had to do was just do those things and keep doing it. As long as I did that, I was modeling and I felt like my model. And I would actually have some people come and say, hey, you speak just like this person. And I didn't have to do some of the things that some of you may have to do because I had spent thousands and thousands of hours watching and listening and practicing. But all of these things, the things that Farouk said, the things that I'm saying, are different ways you can get into modeling. But the trigger, so it was the physical triggers for me. All I had to do was use my hands, my posture, do that. And I was modeling. What about conversations? Well, it took me a while to figure that out because I'd be able to do well teaching or preaching, but not in conversations. Finally clicked. When you're in conversations, you completely drop out of the modeling. You don't speak the same way you did when you were teaching or preaching. So now speak the same way and adjust it. What do I mean? Well, this is a conversation. You're not on stage. So adjust what you're doing down a little bit to conversation. Once I started to do that, then my conversations took off. Same principle, using my hand gestures. Whatever it was that I did when I was modeling, I just did it in conversations and adjusted it down some. Okay. So that's how you do it, right? Just how do I speak when I'm modeling? How does my model speak? Let me do those same things now, or let me pick one that helps me get into that mode, just like Farouk said. All right, good. Sounds good. Thank you guys for the great webinar. All right, so thank you very much. You're going to be getting a replay if you registered for this, and you're going to be getting some emails from me about the placebo effect. I've been doing a series on that, and then you're going to start maybe in a couple of weeks getting a series of questions and challenges being answered and addressed by Farouk. So we're going to go through this placebo effect, and then I'm opening up enrollment for our new coaching program. So you want to look, we're going to have some special discounts, even though it's already cheaper. We're going to have some special discounts for the enrollment period. I'm only going to have a certain number of slots. That's not a trick. I'm a finite person with finite time. So I can only have a certain number of seats open. So be sure that this is something that you want. You've got interviews coming up. You've got sales calls, different things that you want to accomplish, and you want to accelerate your progress, and you're willing to do the work, then you're going to want to go ahead and work with me as soon as possible, sooner rather than later. Okay. Thank you, Jade. Thank you, Farouk. Thank all of you who are here and watching today. And we look forward to seeing you in Virtual Speech Masters and or working with us one-on-one. All right.
All right. See everybody.
Everyone. All right. Have a good one.